St. George was carried into battle against a mythical dragon on the back of a horse. But have you ever wondered what the name of that horse actually was? Well, I have. But I can't find anything anywhere that might give me the slightest clue to his, or indeed her, identity. This is strange, as one would have thought that the patron saint of England, whose feast day it was last Thursday, would have at least have given his horse a name. Even the rather less heroic Spanish knight portrayed in Cervantes' 17th century novel Don Quixote named his horse. And the old nag, Rocinante, was skinny and clumsy and not at all noble and powerful as St. George's trusty steed is so often depicted. It may be that the answer to this mystery lies deep in some ancient Greek manuscript of which I am currently unaware. St. George, after all, was a Greek. The vanquishing by St. George of his formidable foe was made possible only alongside the bravery of his equine charger. For on foot, dear old George would have simply been swished away. But together, he and the horse with no name defeated the dragon. St. George is identified with courage, with bravery, and with honour. And these are worthy attributes that any Christian might seek to emulate in their own lives. But as with the name of his horse, there is another aspect to this well-known story that receives scant attention, and that is the place of God in the whole scheme of things. St. George went into battle with a cross on his shield and a cross on the tip of his lance. The message of St. George encourages us to believe and to trust that with God by our side, we too can overcome our own latter-day dragons when equipped with faith and with hopefulness. The dragons that we may have to contend with in these current times may be less dramatic than engaging with a mythical beast, but they still have the capacity to endanger us, perniciously wreaking damage upon the soul. And the most dangerous among those hypothetical dragons that snap at our frail heels, and we have to admit that there are many, are those that come in the guise of faithlessness and despair, the absence of hope. The Gospel reading for today describes the encounter of two disciples with Jesus on the road to Emmaus after the resurrection. The two men had been brought low by the dragons of despair, their dreams and plans all up in smoke. The carpenter of Nazareth, who had promised so much to them, was dead. He was the victim of power-broking religious leaders and weak authoritarian officialdom. But then Jesus met them. He spoke to them. And then later, when they sat at table together, the two men recognized him in the blessing and in the breaking of bread. It was in this encounter with Jesus that the two men found hope. On one of my long walks quite recently through Bottoms Hall, I fell into conversation with one of my parishioners, who made the point that as things stand in many parts of the world, people have been presented with an opportunity to ask themselves the more important questions in life that they might have otherwise have been inclined to do, say, a month or so ago. As Christians, that opportunity is there for us as well. A time to ask the question about the place of God in the ongoing story of our lives. Do we, with the eyes of faith, hope to see God in our daily actions, in our thoughts and in our words? Do we detect in the small moments of life the Christian hope into which we were baptized? These are healthy and important questions to ask ourselves. But most of the time, the answer falls a bit short of the mark, as the dragons of weariness, of irritation, of human distraction, of boredom, of our own capacity to lose our temper and become angry, the lack of attentiveness to God, human frailty, and worst of all, the cynicism of some of those around us batter our hope on all sides. But the Christian way, like that of the fragile disciples on the road to Emmaus, is not to give up, nor to give in to despair, but to press on, to look towards the horizon, to find Jesus, who is our present and our eternal hope, and to find him in all of the changing circumstances of our lives. So then, keep the faith, and as you pray for me, I shall surely pray for you.